Yo, what's going on, guys? Today, we're going to be ranking every single win condition in Clash Royale. First off, we have the Royal Hogs. Royal Hogs Earthquake is a really strong deck right now. I think I have to put them in the A tier. Yeah, Hogs EQ is probably a top 2 deck in the game, right behind Mortar. You can just go for them split, so even if your opponent has Mega Knight, they can't fully counter it, or even if they have Bomb Tower, you just Earthquake it and you still make them respond to them even more. They pretty much are guaranteed to get damage, I feel like, unless your opponent has like 20,000 different counters, and yeah, they're a really solid win condition in this meta. Next up, the Miner. Miner is actually really good right now. The Miner Mortar deck is the main deck that it's used in, and it just helps so much to swarm your opponent, get some chip damage sometimes, or to snipe down a glass cannon, for example. It just has so many uses. So for Miner, I mean, I think I'll have to put it in the A tier, behind Piggies though, because Miner Poison is not a deck that's used much at all anymore, but it's still very solid in certain decks, and it has so many uses as well. Even in Lava, sometimes people will use it too. Okay, the Bush is a very interesting one, actually. I feel like Bush really isn't that bad. Like, it gets a lot of value sometimes. The Goblins do so much damage, and it's a little bit quicker than it used to be. But I feel like the buff didn't really do anything for the card. It helps sometimes, but it also can hurt the card sometimes to be quicker. The main issue with the card is the fact that it's a really good offensive win condition, very cheap and stuff like that. But the issue with it is the fact that you cannot defend whatsoever with it. Like, every other win condition in the game, you can actually, like, tank stuff with it. Like, even an E-Golem, you can at least tank something with it. With a Bush, you can't. And also, you can, like, you know, kite stuff with a RG. Or with, like, a Lava Hand, you could tank an Archer Queen, for example. Like, every single win condition you can do something with. But Bush, you literally cannot do pretty much anything with. Unless you play it into a Valkyrie swing, for example. But that would not be the smartest play. So, for Bush, I'm going to have to put it in the D tier. It's really not bad, but it just doesn't defend at all, which is the main issue with it. It's a pretty unhealthy card, in my opinion, because if it gets really strong, it's going to be crazy on offense. Because it kind of needs to be a good win condition since it can't defend at all. Now, Hog Rider, I mean, Hog Earthquake was decent last season, really not good at all compared to Piggies, though. Piggies just overshines Hog Rider so badly right now. I'd almost want to put it at the top of the C tier, but I feel like it's not that bad. I'd probably put it towards the lower B tier. I know for mid-ladder, for example, it could be higher up, but I'm kind of just basing this list off of the best players in the game, like, you know, top ladder, CRL, stuff like that, because that's what really matters the most at the end of the day in terms of showing a card's true strength. Because in mid ladder, for example, you know, like an over-leveled Hog Rider will be really broken because everyone has it all leveled up and stuff like that, so you have to take that stuff into account as well. Now, Evo RG is actually pretty decent right now. RG did make a small comeback towards the end of last season. It's just very solid right now. It's not too OP or anything like that, but I will put it probably towards the top of the B tier. The Evo is pretty decent as well. It does add a little bit to the RG. Helps it sometimes break through, you know, knights and stuff like that a little bit better by constantly knocking them back. Not bad at all. Okay, Ram Rider, man. Ram Rider could potentially be the best win condition in the game. We still have quite a few to go, though, so there could be something that might pass it, but man, Ram Rider, we have our first S tier win condition, guys. Ram Rider is so insane right now. It's just like a bullet. It's kind of impossible to stop. Like, you rage that John up, and nothing is stopping it. Like, a P.E.K.K.A, you play a P.E.K.K.A, it's not stopping it. You play a Bowler, it's not stopping it. You play a Mega Knight, it's not stopping it. If you rage the Ram Rider. Even if you don't rage, though, still it's kind of broken. So yeah, man, Ram Rider, they nerfed it, actually. They nerfed the damage of it, but they should have nerfed the amount of tiles it takes for it to charge instead of what they did. So they kind of just nerfed it in the wrong way. They should have made it charge in 2.5 tiles instead of 2, for sure. Now, Elixir Golem, I thought it was going to be kind of back a little bit. There was this one E-Golem pump deck that was a little bit decent, and some people playing E-Golem healer, but they quickly stopped towards the end of the season. So E-Golem, I'm going to have to throw this in the D tier. I guess above Suspicious Bush, though, but yeah, E-Golem is pretty bad. I don't know if it's really F tier worthy, though. I feel like it's a little bit better than F tier, because a couple people at least can play it. Yeah, I mean, it just sucks against Goblinstein, and a lot of the meta decks like Piggies do a pretty good job against it. That's really all there is to the purple blob, man. Goblin Barrel, man, Goblin Barrel is actually really bad right now. It's mainly the, well, it's not really bad, it's just okay right now, but the Evo Barrel is the main thing that's carrying it. So for Goblin Barrel, I'll actually probably put it in the mid-C tier. It's really not too special. You know, there's a lot of Pig's Earthquake, which can easily counter a normal barrel. So yeah, I think that's a pretty fair placement for the card. Three Musketeers, man, I have not thought about Three Musketeers in like 2 months straight or so. 3M, I mean, there used to be a couple 3M players playing and having some success, even though the card was never really good. for a long time, but now there's literally 0 Three Musketeers players, at least at the end of this season. They're just that bad, and even if the opponent doesn't have a big spell, stuff like Ghost can easily counter 2 of the Musketeers when you split them. And yeah, just like so easy to counter those 2 Musketeers now with like a Ghost, any cheap card like that, Delivery. So they just really don't get much value at all, and they have to go at the very bottom of the F tier, most likely, unless there's something that can somehow be a little bit worse than it. We'll have to see about that, though. Alright, Mortar. Mortar is very solid right now. It's mainly used with the Evo, actually, but even normal Mortar is pretty good, too. I think I will go for Mortar in the upper B tier. Yeah, it's definitely not bad at all. It has good HP, synergizes really well with the Cannon Cart, and Cannoneer works really well with it too, because you don't have as much DPS when you have a Mortar in your deck instead of like a Tesla, but the Cannoneer kind of just makes up for that lost DPS. Evo Barrel, man, Evo Barrel is so crazy broken, guys. I was on the verge of just raging when I was facing Evo Barrel last season. Like, no matter how many spells you can have Piggy's Earthquake, triple spell, you can still lose to Logbait, because they have like Dark Goblin Princess, you log the Princess, you deliver the Dark Goblin, they play the barrel, you go for your Evo Skellies onto it, they actually end up playing the barrel in the front, so then they get double damage, you predict the wrong side, you predict the doll side instead of the real barrel side, then they get so much damage on the other side. It's just impossible to stop, let's just admit that. We need to know which barrel's the fake barrel when they play their Evo barrels. Evo Barrel, I mean, I'm gonna put it in the A tier, I'll put it above Minor, not above Piggy's though, but guys, Evo Barrel is so good, man. I think they really should show which barrel's the fake one, but you just have to look really quickly to be able to tell that, so they shouldn't make it too obvious which one is the fake one, but they should be able to show you if you look really quickly. Because, I mean, people say, like, oh, the thing about Evo Barrel is that it's not showing you which one is real, which one is fake, but that's just not healthy for the game to just have it be a luck thing the whole time. Like, the fact that there's 2 barrels, that's enough value for the card, in my opinion. That makes it so good. Like, imagine an Evo Hog Rider where you get a hog on either side. That's like the equivalent. This Evo Barrel is like the equivalent of what that would be, so if you guys want to keep Evo Barrel like this, then we need a double Hog Rider in the game sometime soon. Nah, I'm being for real though. Like, if these bait players try to get at me in the comment section, okay, we could keep the Evo Barrel like it is, but we need to bring a double Hog Rider to the game as well then, in that case. Alright, Goblin Drill actually made a small comeback at the end of the last season too. It was quite good with the Goblinstein and Evo Bomber. As far as where I'd put it in the B tier, I mean, I think I'd put it kind of towards the middle of the B tier. Maybe above RG is fine, I think. Yeah, I think I would say it's fine. It was actually used by quite a few people. Even without the evolution, it feels like it's a pretty decent win condition. Pretty balanced, actually. Kind of just like in the middle of win conditions right now. Maybe a little bit above average. Now, Graveyard was actually very good last season. It made a huge comeback. And the reason why is that Goblinstein just fits so well with it. It's such a big tank, and you get really good defense out of it too. It just kind of the perfect thing to play with Graveyard. And also Evo Cage is really good in Graveyard. Cannon is really good in Graveyard. A lot of stuff going for Graveyard right now. So Graveyard, I think I'll put it in the A tier. I'm not sure whether I should put it above Minor or not. I think no. I think I'll put it towards the bottom of the A tier. Could even potentially go a spot higher above the Minor, maybe. I'm not really sure, but yeah, it's definitely a pretty respectable win condition after having maybe a few rough months for Splash Yard. Because Giant Graveyard and stuff really isn't played at all anymore. Now, Normal Battle Ram, man, Normal Battle Ram is actually quite a weak win condition. I'll have to put this at the bottom of the C tier. It's just that you have Ram Rider, and Ram Rider is 10 times better. So, why would you play Battle Ram? It can't even Lightning Block for Three Musketeers anymore. Even if you're one of the few Three Musketeers players out there, it's kind of useless. So, yeah. Moving on. Evolved Goblin Giant, Evo P.E.K.K.A was actually really good for a period of time, but people slowly switched to Ram Rider because Ram Rider is just better than it right now to use with P.E.K.K.A. But it's still not bad, though. It's definitely not too bad. So, I don't know where I would put this. I think I'd probably put it towards the bottom of the B tier. I mean, ideally you could say it's a little bit higher than this, but Ram Rider is just so much better than it that there's no reason to play this. So I feel like that justifies it being a little bit lower in the B tier than it probably should be if there were no Ram Rider around. Now, Evo Goblin Drill, guys, people genuinely stopped playing Evo Goblin Drill at the end of last season. They actually switched to having normal Drill and then using Evo Ice Spirit, Evo Bomber in the Drill decks. And yeah, I mean, Evo Drill just feels so much easier to counter now without the ghost spawns and like the extra impact damage. It's just not as much to worry about these days. So actually, I might even put this below the normal Drill. I feel like I don't know, it feels kind of weird, but I'm genuinely probably going to put it a little bit lower than the Evo, than the normal drill, because people use the normal drill and they don't usually use the Evo drill these days, so I think that's probably fair. Normal Goblin Giant. It's really just not very good right now. I don't know if I'd put it below Barrel. I think I'll just put it towards the top of the C tier. It's much better with the Evo for sure. Nobody really plays Goblin Giant without the Evo. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty mid right now. Maybe if Ramrider got a nerf, people would start playing it more with P.E.K.K.A, then it would be probably a lot higher up in the meta. But yeah, just a little bit below average maybe. Somewhere around average. Lava Hound is normally very strong, especially towards, competitive play. People really like to play it a lot. But recently, it's just not been used too much. I mean, I guess there always are a handful of Lava Hound players having great success with it, but it's really not the best ever. I think for Lava Hound, we could put this in the B tier. I'd probably say it could go kind of just in the middle of the B tier. It's pretty average right now. It's not that bad, though. It's always used by some people, but it's just not really excelling at all right now. The reason probably why is because Mortar can definitely do a pretty good job against it with the Cannoneer and stuff like that, and yeah, it just can struggle to defend the pressure of certain decks sometimes. Evo Wallbreakers were pretty much never used for a short time, but now the Magic Archer Miner Wallbreakers deck does use them again, and it gets quite good value from them too. I don't know, I feel like it's a little bit better than the C tier evolutions here, so I think I'm genuinely probably going to put it in the B tier. Yeah, B tier basically means average or slightly above average. I think they're just about average for a win condition right now, if you ask me. So, yeah, I think that's a pretty fair ranking. They can be quite hard to stop if you have no building, because stuff like Cannon can counter them pretty easily, but if you have no building, you sometimes have to overcommit so heavily. Like, if you have a P.E.K.K.A deck, you just can't counter them sometimes, I feel like. Unless you overcommit a lot, that is. Now, Balloon, I mean, it's used with Lava Hound, and that's basically it. Nobody really plays Balloon Cycle these days, it seems like. So, Balloon, I mean, I don't know, I'd probably have to put it right next to the Lava Hound for right now. It's not the best, but it gets some good value sometimes, and Stein can counter the Lava Hound decks at times, but it doesn't do too heavy DPS, so you can still break through with the Balloon and stuff like that. So yeah, it's pretty average. Okay, now Giant is a pretty interesting one. It actually finished #1 in the world last season on ladder. It was a Giant deck, but the thing is, I feel like everything was decent in that deck. Like, everything had a reason for making that deck finish #1 except the Giant itself. Okay, maybe that's an exaggeration. Giant does have a lot of HP. I almost want to put it in the B tier for finishing #1, like low B tier, but realistically, I feel like it might have to be high C tier, because genuinely, one guy was playing the deck, he finished #1, and nobody else was playing the deck whatsoever. And there's no Giant decks really going around. I mean, maybe there's like one Giant Sparky player, maybe one Giant Graveyard player out there somewhere. And that's really about it. Yeah, Giant's not used too much, but we could see that if you play really good with it, you can finish really well with it and have good success with it. Expo, I don't know. I think I'll put it in the C tier, kind of just the middle of the C tier. The Expo one-tricks can usually have a decent time with it, but there's been a lot of Cannon Cart recently, a lot of Goblin Stein, a lot of stuff making it kind of hard to play Expo, and also there are some other things that could be good for it too, though. Like, Evo Snowball, I think, might be really nice for Expo. We have to see, though, if it can actually fit in Expo, because Log is really broken in Expo too, so it's going to be hard to take out the Log and put a Snowball, but man, I've been trying it a little bit, and Pump Bow with Evo Snowball is actually kind of insane. It makes Expo get so many locks on the tower when your opponent doesn't expect it, so this could potentially rise to low B tier if Pump Bow becomes good, but it's not super hard to counter Pump Bow with Earthquake decks, so I'm not quite sure how it's going to do. Now, Evo Mortar, I don't know, I mean, people do always use Evo Mortar whenever they're playing a Mortar deck, but Evo Mortar got a pretty big nerf to where now it takes a lot longer to get that first attack off. But still, I feel like I have to go for it at the bottom of A tier just because of how broken Mortar was last season. It was pretty much the best deck in the game, and it still is as of right now, so I think that's a fair ranking for it. It's always pretty dangerous when you see an Evo Mortar. You have to take it out very quickly, otherwise it gets so much value. Shoots so quickly too, and just spams those goblins across the whole map. Normal RG, I mean, normal RG is really not much worse than the Evo RG. I think I might just go for it right below it, because I feel like it's better than Lava Hound, right? Actually, is it? I don't know. I might go for it right below the Lava Hound. I don't know. I'm almost tempted to put it right behind the Evo RG, but maybe it is worse than Lava Hound without the Evo. Tough to say. It's pretty similar to the Evo, though. The Evo doesn't change all that much about RG. Golem is just not good. I don't know. I mean, I thought it would be good with Evo E-Drag, but the deck just doesn't work too well in this sort of meta. It gets countered by Piggies and usually by P.E.K.K.A, stuff like that. There's just not the best stuff going for it right now. So Golem, I mean, man, I don't know. I feel like I have to put it at the bottom of the C tier, almost D tier level, honestly. Man, you know, I might actually put it in the D tier, genuinely, because I just don't see anyone playing it. I feel like, yeah, it's really just not good. Not too much to say about it. Yeah, genuinely, I'm going to put it towards the bottom of the D tier. I don't know. I might be tripping on this one. Maybe you could say low C tier, but I feel like D tier might be more appropriate for it. Evo Battle Ram. I mean, Evo Battle Ram is definitely a different story from the normal Battle Ram. It's used quite nicely in that one Goblinstein Cannon Cart Bridge spam deck, so I think we could probably put this in the B tier. Where would I put it, though, in the B tier? I think right around here, right towards the upper B tier. Not quite 8 tier, but it's definitely quite nice. It's just that, of course, the Ram Rider is still very broken, too, so you don't always play it, but in some decks it's quite nice. Now, Electro Giant, I thought was going to make a small comeback, but it really didn't. It just really didn't. I don't know where I want to put this one. There might be a couple people out there playing it, probably. So, I mean, I guess I'll put it in the C tier. Like, you know, Piggies usually beats it, I think, and Mortar can beat it, P.E.K.K.A can beat it, most of the meta decks can beat it, so it's just not the best meta for E-Giant, to be realistic about it. Next up, Skelly Barrel. Pretty much only the Mega Knight Skelly Barrel players play it, and there's not many of those guys left on top ladder these days, or anywhere in the game these days. Maybe some mid-ladder menaces are out there. No bait player really runs Skelly Barrel either anymore, so I don't know where I'd have to put that. I would say probably top of D tier. It's not a terrible card. It got a couple buffs recently, I think, to the damage and stuff, the death damage, but it's just not really that good. You'd much rather play something like Wall Breakers in most decks, I feel like, if you're looking for a secondary win condition. And now to our final win condition, the Wall Breakers. Okay, for Wall Breakers, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I put Evo Wall Breakers in the B tier. Normal Wall Breakers, I feel like they can just go right next to them, to be honest. They're pretty much the same thing. I mean, pretty similar. Yeah, they're not really good, but they're definitely usable. They're a respectable win condition, once again, because they can actually connect against Cannoneer now, and Cannoneer isn't absolutely everywhere like it used to be. And guys, that is my full tier list. Let me know what you guys think about it in the comment section down below. And yeah, I'll catch you guys all in the next video. Bye!